COVID-2 strain. So what he said was correct.
So his job is safe.
Correct.
Okay, moving on. Can you explain a little bit more about why the White House in a statement is calling the Taliban businesslike and professional?
Well, I would note that in that statement, what we were announcing was the fact that a Qatari Airlines flight successfully landed in Qatar with American citizens, legal permanent residents, and Afghans on board who joined us in our fight over the last several years. We wanted to note that the Taliban was cooperative in facilitating the departure of these American citizens and legal permanent residents from HKIA. We promised we would get American citizens out. We promised we would get legal permanent residents out. We promised we would get our Afghan partners out. And we promised we'd press the Taliban to get them out. And that's exactly what we did.
But you're saying the Taliban is businesslike and professional. Their interior minister has an FBI wanted poster. He's got a $10 million bounty on his head. What's the business?
We are here to celebrate the return of American citizens who wanted to leave Afghanistan, of legal permanent residents, of Afghans who fought by our side, to Qatar successfully on a Qatari Airlines flight. And in order to get those people out, we had to work with some members of the Taliban to press them and to work in a business-like manner to get them out. Okay. That is what we were stating in the statement.
And in that statement it says this is a positive first step. Towards what?
Towards getting additional people out who want to leave Afghanistan. Go ahead.
Jen, does the vaccine mandate include every business that gets a government contract?
There are going to be additional details that will be briefed to you in about 20 minutes, and I would encourage you to wait for all of those.
We're going to take another quick 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox.
Said building has been that the federal government, for nearly all, obviously doesn't include the judiciary, the federal branch, or the congressional employees, but and they said in contractors as well.
Yes.
You can't say whether
that is true. Contractors, yes.
So contractors. But obviously there are a lot of companies that have contracts with the government where some of those people in the firm work with the U.S. government, others do not.
There's more to come on private sector requirements that will apply to many of these companies you're referring to.
Fine, we'll wait for that clarity coming up shortly after this. Just to clear up one thing that was asked by Jeff earlier, disciplinary action could include termination, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Hopefully it doesn't come to that. Our role is, of course, to convey to federal employees the safety, the effectiveness, the availability of vaccines which are readily available across the country.
And is fully vaccinated for those employees and contractors 2 shots or 3 shots?
Well, at this point, I think we're working towards 2 shots. I'll check on that for you. Obviously, the boosters are not yet available. So in terms of the implementation, we're working at the stage right now.
As the White House knows well, the president's poll numbers have dropped according to polls from a variety of different outlets right now. Do you acknowledge that the public now has some doubts about the president's handling of the virus? And is today's announcement in some ways an effort to try to right that?
This is not a political speech, and it's certainly not about poll numbers. What we can acknowledge, and you've seen in a lot of these polls, is that the number 1 issue, number 2 issue, number 3 issue for many Americans is COVID and what we're doing. And we have done a lot of work over the last couple of months, even as we've had conversations and talked about a range of other issues, whether it's Afghanistan or Build Back Better or other issues in this room and in many forms of media we engage with. So it's an acknowledgement of that. I'll also note that in all of these polls, support for the president's handling of coronavirus continues to be the majority of the American public, and that hasn't changed. Go ahead.
The American Federation of Government Employees says it encourages its members to get vaccinated, but suggests that this should be a mandatory subject of bargaining with the federal government. Why did the White House decide to move forward without consulting with that large public employee union?
Well, we have a range of consultations with labor unions, including that one, and that has been the case.